it in for a free evaluation. We would love to walk around your vehicle with you and point out some stuff. And remember, we love you. Only here at Pueblo Tires. Get some love today.
For the latest news, weather, and breaking news, and crystal clear digital audio using your Alexa. Step 1, say, Alexa, enable 710 KURV skill. Step 2, just say, Alexa, play 710 KURV. Step 3, listen to News Talk 710 KURV.
We all know you cats are getting your tax refund and very soon your government relief money in the mail. So spend it on your car. Why not? Come on, you love your car. And if you're driving a pickup, well, a lift kit and some wider wheels is in order for you. Some awesome looking knobby tires. It'll give you the mojo kick of the decade. Now you can hang some ornaments off the back bumper. That's right. We keep a lot of the lift kits and wheels that you need on your mule in stock with our incredible technicians and equipment to align the wheels, diagnose your codes, turn your brake discs, and change your fluids. You're in good hands, folks. That's right. Take that to the bank. Shampoozy. That's what I'm talking about. Dan!
From the KURV Broadcast Center in McAllen, Texas, in the mighty Rio Grande Valley, this is a KURV Community Special. Opening Texas.
It's showtime! It is now time to open Texas 100%.
This community special is powered by Pueblo Tires.
Let's do this!
And now your hosts, Sergio Sanchez and Roxanne Flores.
Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Steve Elaney is president of the McAllen Chamber of Commerce. He's been conducting surveys of local business for an entire year now. On and off, I think he's up to number 3 or 4. We'll check in with Steve. Our guests also include Terry Van Berklio. He is the owner of all El Pato restaurants across South Texas. My goodness, my mouth watering just thinking about that. Taquerias El Zarape as well. All those nice people working for these local businesses. And Dr. James Castillo, Cameron County Health Authority, our guest today. I'm Sergio Sanchez, along with Roxanne Flores. Your calls, questions, welcome. Now, we're doing online, Facebook Live. You can join us, post comments there, questions there, and Zach Cantu will fire those questions over to us as well. Your calls welcome at 800-588-255 off air. This is a KURV news special, opening Texas 100%. A very big thank you to the Colonel, all the gang at Pueblo Tires for making this hour possible. Roxanne, go ahead, friend.
First, I want to just welcome you guys for joining us. Always a pleasure speaking to y'all. My first question is for you, Terry. I think we're approaching a week when our world just got rocked with COVID-19. I think it was the 16th, around that week of March last year, when just everything hit the fan and the unexpected happened. I wanted to ask you, as owner of the El Pato restaurants and Taqueria El Zarape, what was your journey? How has your journey been like during COVID-19 for your restaurants, for your family, and for your employees?
Well, Roxanne, Sergio, thank you for having me today, and hello, Steve and Dr. Castillo. It was such a shock and a jolt to our business. We had to change some things operationally when it first hit, of course. Business suffered considerably the first couple of months, but we adapted our operations. We took all our touch points away for the customers in the diner. So no drink stations, no condiment stations, no salsa bar, and our business gravitated toward our drive-through. A large percentage of our business was drive-through anyway, and it just increased. So the first couple months were pretty rough business-wise, but then when people started moving a little bit and getting out and realizing that we were open, they just didn't come to the diners. Just didn't come in. But we just moved all our operations to our drive-through and our call-in orders, and we started seeing our business started coming back a little bit a couple months after that.
March and April were the worst months, right, Terry? Because March, the world was grinding to a halt for us here in the U.S., right? And then the words essential, non-essential came into our lexicon. And the food businesses were deemed essential. The problem is, as you said, you had to do the drive-through thing. Nobody could go inside the restaurants. How did that negatively affect your bottom line? Like how much did business decrease? Half, 75%, 25% muscle men?
Well, we were in March and April. We were down considerably.
More than that.
Yeah, it was considerable. People just weren't out. They just didn't. They weren't shopping. They weren't coming to the restaurants.
Yeah. They weren't leaving the house. Period. That's
I'm
right.
sorry.
They weren't leaving the house at all. I remember.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
And we're our employees were trying to figure out what they were going to do. They weren't sure they wanted to come to work, and business wasn't good, and we didn't have room for the employees. But luckily, we were able to retain most all of our employees during this time, and kept them on board. And after the first couple of months, we started kind of not getting back to normal. Just our business switched from a lot less diner and more into the drive-through and the takeout. So after the first couple of months, we started seeing business come back, in late summer, we were doing most of our business through the drive-through.
10-4. Well, one thing I recall, March of last year, all the toilet paper shelves and the paper products, those were empty at the H-E Butts and the Walmarts, all those places. And I found one source. My secret source was the McAllen Chamber of Commerce. We went over with Steve Elanius. We were raiding the closet for toilet paper and towels. Steve Elanius joining me right now. Steve, how many surveys have you conducted over the past year?
We've done 4, Sergio, and we just finished at the end of January, first part of February, our 4th survey, just trying to get a sense of what businesses were thinking and feeling. I'm really excited. The attitude in this 4th survey was pretty positive in terms of what businesses see happening and what's coming. And I think there's a couple of key underlying factors there. Number one, family balance sheets weren't crushed like they've been crushed during the Great Depression and the Great Recession and the other recessions we've experienced. Second, the federal stimulus program has pumped money into individuals' accounts, savings. I think Americans have set records over the last several months in terms of their savings. And I think underlying, if you look at the economy, it's solid. We don't have those bubbles that you had with the tech bubble in 2000 or the housing bubble or the housing market bubble you had in 2008 and 2009. And so I think overall the economy is in a really great position as once these restrictions get lifted and people get more people get vaccinated and they feel comfortable going back out into the marketplace. I think the second half of 2021 is going to take off like a rocket.
Yeah, it was Goldman Sachs. They predicted 4% unemployment by the end of the year. They're saying there's going to be an economic explosion here before the end of the year. Steve, the sales tax numbers, which of course indicate sales activity, amazing, right? That we've been in the black all this time, the entire valley, sales tax, sales collections, still in the black almost all year round. For exception, of course, early on in the pandemic, but sales very strong. You find that surprising?
No, and again, it kind of goes to those underlying conditions. And what's really exciting about it is once the non-essential traveler from Mexico, that ban is lifted, it's going to become the cream for the rest of the economy in the Rio Grande Valley. And I think you're going to see a real strong response. We keep promoting in social media in Mexico about McAllen, and we just see a huge pent-up demand to come here, to shop, and to kind of get back into normal routines from Mexican nationals. So I think it's going to be good.
This is a KURV News special. Online as well at News Talk 710 KURV, Facebook Live if you'd like to post any questions, comments. Our guest today, Steve Elanius, McAllen, the president of the McAllen Chamber, Terry Van Berkelio, owner of El Pato Restaurants and Taquerias El Sarape, Dr. James Castillo, the Cameron County Health Authority. I'm Sergio Sanchez, along with Roxanne Flores. I know Roxanne's got a follow-up question. Go ahead, Roxanne.
I do. This is for you, Mr. Elanius. I know at the beginning of the pandemic, you had your first survey, and refresh my memory, the percentage of businesses that told or that said that they were planning on closing and what that's like now in 2021.
Yeah, great question, Roxanne. So the very first survey, and Terry could probably express some of those same feelings that a lot of businesses had. We had about 18% of the businesses thinking they weren't going to make it through this, right? It was a little bit overwhelming with the essential, non-essential workers, who could open, what couldn't open. But as all that started to settle in and people found ways forward, and that's what's always been, I think, one of America's greatest strengths is the resiliency and the ability to find a path forward. Terry mentioned drive-throughs, and you saw it with restaurants where they went from in-store dining to curbside to drive-throughs to delivery, and a dramatic shift that, you started seeing 85% of their business being curbside or delivery, which is what really helped those restaurants survive. In retail, we saw a dramatic shift from very few doing online sales to today. We have close to 50% of the businesses that responded to the survey saying they're doing online sales now. And so out of necessity, businesses find a way to make it.
Go ahead, Roxanne. I know.
I do. Well, thank you for that answer, Steve. Now, this question is directed towards Terry. Speaking about businesses and all that stuff, we know that the big news of the day is that today is the day that Governor Abbott's lifted the mask mandate. It's up to businesses now to decide what they think is best for their establishment. And one thing I did want to add is, it's not that Texas governor is saying to not wear masks. He's leaving it up to you guys, the business owners, to decide what's best for your company and your business. So with that, I want to ask you, Terry, what is your plan when it comes to reopening today?
Roxanne, our plan is I've talked to lots of my employees, and they all want to wear masks, and we want them to wear masks. Mm-hmm. So all our employees will be wearing masks. We're going to leave our signage up on our front doors that say masks are required, just to protect our employees, and we expect our customers to wear masks. When they come in.
You opening up the salsa bar again?
No, we're not.
Wow.
There are some touch. A lot of the touch points we're not gonna open, just to until we see this thing a little farther down the road. We're just going to keep some of those touch points for our customers.
I said, keep bringing it. My salsita, give me more. I need more tubs. More tubs.
Hey, you can ask, and we'll give you all you want. We don't want the multiple touch points at the salsa bar.
Well, the good thing is all the tables are open now, right? See,
they are.
Right?
We never really got past 50% because of the size of our diners. So when we went to 75, we were pretty much stayed at the 50%. So. We did open all our diners today but again, Sergio, I don't expect a big rush into the diners. I think this is going to take some time for people to come back in and fill up our diners.
What would you say you are right now compared to this time last year before pandemic? Are you like 75, 80% of sales? Are you 100% of sales? Where are you right now?
We're pretty much back to what we were pre-pandemic. Yeah.
Okay, good. That's a blessing.
That's good. Yeah. And those people who had drive-throughs are fared, I think, a lot better than the table service guys that didn't have that opportunity. So we feel very fortunate.
Dr. James Castillo, Cameron County Health Authority, Cameron County Judge Eddie Trevino saying that at county, all county businesses, folks still need to wear masks. So what else can you share with us as far as what you know at what Cameron County is doing? Because I see a divergence there, Doc. I see Cameron County saying, okay, masks. And do you know if that's the same in Hidalgo County with Richard Cortez? Will there be masks at the courthouse and other places? What do you hear, Dr. James?
I haven't heard about what Hidalgo is doing. I mean, if you're looking at people having to access vital public services, you're trying to keep those required places. If you're going to leave your home, if you have risk factors, you're going to leave those places you have to go as safe as you can. Masks are going to be part of that. Just like, you're looking at employers making that decision so that their employees can feel safe in the workplace until everybody's had a chance to get the vaccine. And that's really not that far away. That's probably a few months away. So, you can hear about the courts potentially reopening. You could think about jury duty. And then how do you reflect on that when you're thinking of masks and whether you have a choice to be there or not? Same thing goes for grocery stores, for example, versus other places that are more elective, like, those entertainment venues or restaurants. Those are things people can choose to do. But for the places where you really have to go, I would still absolutely recommend masks for everybody, to protect yourself and to protect other people around you.
You're listening to KURV News Special, 20 minutes after 3. I'm Sergio Sanchez, along with Roxanne Fotis. Our guest, Steve Elanius, president of the McAllen Chamber of Commerce. Terry Van Berkeley, owner of El Pato restaurants all across South Texas, Taquerias El Sarape as well. And Dr. James Castillo, our Cameron County Health Authority. Let's pay some bills real quick and come on back. Your questions, comments, welcome at 800-580-8255, 800-580-TALK. You can also join us online at Newstalk 710 KURV Facebook Live. Post a question there, and Zach will get that over to us as well. Thanks for joining us on Newstalk 710 KURV. Today's special news presentation, service of Pueblo Tires Valley-wide.
Hey, folks, online chat has been online for 6 years now. That's right. There's real tire people behind the keyboard. They understand the maintenance issues of most of your driving needs. So next time you become concerned about your ride, chat with one of the experts here on the team and take it from there. You can also apply for credit or financing online. Just go to the main website at thinktires.net, shampoozy.com, or pueblotires.com. Apply for financing, choose your tires, chat with somebody on the team, and we can even show up at your driveway with the mobile tire store and get you on your way. It is beautiful. Take that to the bank. That's what I'm talking about. Shampoozy.com. Think tires, think Pueblo.
Wash your hands and keep your hands to yourself. We did it in kindergarten. Hey, we can do it again. Do your part to stop the spread of COVID-19. A reminder from Newstalk 710 KURV.
Keep your hands to yourself. Hello, folks. 25% of the cars in the United States are at least 16 years old. That's right. According to Statistica, the average age of a car in the U.S. is 12 years old. A lot can happen in 12 years, guys. The average driver in the U.S. drives about 13,500 miles per year. Simple math tells us that a quarter of the cars on the road today have over 200,000 miles on them. That's a lot of miles, folks. 160,000 miles is over 6 times around the world. That's a lot of potholes. Now, if you probably know, some things just naturally wear out, like tires. They're perishable products like belts, hoses, gaskets, and the seals. Components like these tend to break down over time, regardless of the use that are put on them. So bring your mule to Pueblo today. Be good to yourselves and be good to others and deal with people who have got your back. And keep wondering, what does shampoozy really mean?
Tune in tomorrow night at 7 for President Joe Biden's first primetime address on Newstalk 710 KURV and KURV.com.
Time is 3:23. This is Newstalk 710 KURV, the News Talk Authority of South Texas. You can join us online, KURV.com. Listen live. Radio Para Mi is our app. And join us with a special news broadcast where you can interact with us, post any questions, comments. Newstalk 710 KURV at Facebook Live. Steve Elanius, president of the McAllen Chamber. Terry Van Berkeley, El Pato Restaurants, Taquerias El Zapato. And Dr. James Castillo, Cameron County Health Authority. I'm Sergio Sanchez with Roxanne Flores. Your questions welcome at 800-580-TALK. Okay, Roxanne, back to you.
This is for Dr. Castillo. Dr. Castillo, it seems vaccination distribution is really ramping up. And I know Governor Abbott said that half of seniors have already been vaccinated in Texas. How soon do you think we can say herd immunity?
Herd immunity for this virus might be at the point where over 70, maybe up to 90% of people have either received the vaccine or have recovered from the infection, preferably the vaccine. And so that's still a long way off. I think we're still under 10% of people, but the vaccine's definitely getting more available. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine looks really great. Single dose, that's going to get us there in half the time. With that protection against death and hospitalizations being, absolutely fantastic. That's definitely going to be great for business leading into the end of the year and get us back to normal quicker.
Dr. James, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, will folks have a chance to choose which one, or will it be first come, first serve? We got J&J. You need to take J&J like now. What's the plan?
Yeah, I think people will always have that choice, whether, one place will be able to offer you both vaccines and you get to pick from a menu. That's probably still, months away. But choosing, where pharmacy you go to or where you sign up, or going to one of the big events, the sooner you get a vaccine, the better. But if a person's waiting for, a reason or a choice they want to make, I think that you're going to have a lot of choices available soon, maybe not both in the same place, but being able to pick from different locations.
Give us a COVID floor update. I know we ask you this from time to time. How are we doing? The census over at the hospitals. Are we okay? Are we at like super low numbers?
Hospitals are doing really, really good. I think across the valley, we're in the low 200s in terms of people hospitalized with COVID. That peaked up almost 800. So we're way down. Unfortunately, hospitals are still seeing new admissions with COVID. In other words, people still getting sick with COVID bad enough to get put in the hospital. But in general, that census keeps going down. So the hospitals are looking much, much better.
Let me go back to Roxanne real quick. I know she had a question for Steve Elanius.
No, I do. To kind of recap, I know that you brought up last time how 18% of businesses in the beginning of the pandemic thought that they weren't going to make it. What's that number now? I don't think I heard you answer that last time.
It's Roxanne, it's down to less than 4% are concerned, thinking that they won't make it through that. And, the other key thing that we saw in the survey was the optimism that a lot of businesses see. We've got close to 53% seeing growth for their businesses happening in the next 6 months. And so that's a pretty optimistic indicator that they see good things on the horizon.
Now, you also mentioned that you've done 4 surveys. Which one's your next one?
I think they're tired of us talking to them, so I think we may wait another 6-7 months before we conduct another survey. But it really kind of fit nicely. This has been a year of this pandemic, and we were able about every 3 months to survey and get a sense of what was happening. And you could start seeing about the third survey, there was a shift in attitude. People started finding, a path forward. They were more optimistic about things that were happening. Obviously the government stimulus program had a huge impact. And so there was a sense that I'm going to get through this. And I think that's just accelerating as we move forward over the next couple of months.
Let me see if I got it straight. You said about 4% loss, but how many businesses did you survey, Steve, on muscle menos, on ballpark figure?
Typically, on a typical survey, it was between 100 and 130 businesses that responded to the survey.
And you say of all that, you lost about 4% on the way?
4% that had anticipated that they would end up closing their business.
Okay, and in the end, was it that, or did everybody?
Sergio, that's one of those forensic analyses that we'll probably do a year from now. Go back and look at the number of businesses that closed during the pandemic. But here's the other thing. We had a number of folks who launched businesses during the pandemic, right? And they saw opportunities. And so, there's always a mixed bag. You have folks that say, okay, I'm going to have to shut my business down. But then you had other folks that saw an opportunity to launch a business. They saw a need in the marketplace and were able to take advantage of it.
News special, News Talk 710 KURV, already 3:30. Let's pay more bills real quick, and we'll come back. Any questions, comments, welcome. As we talk about opening Texas 100%. KURV News Special today made possible by Pueblo Tires Valleywide. Talk line is 800-580-8255, and you can join us at Facebook Live 710 KURV. Very big thank you to Dr. James Castillo, Cameron County Health Authority, Terry Van Berkeley, owner of El Pato restaurants all across South Texas, also Taquerias El Serape. Steve Elanius, you just heard, president of the McAllen Chamber of Commerce. KURV News Special, News Talk 710 KURV, live on Facebook, made possible by Pueblo Tires.
Top and bottom of the hour news. This is News Talk 710 KURV.
3:30 on News Talk 710 KURV. Good afternoon. I'm Tim Sullivan. Congress has sent President Biden the landmark $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief bill. The House approved the bill earlier today over solid Republican opposition. The 628-page measure represents Democrats' effort to bridle the pandemic and revive the economy. Wall Street, the Dow closed up today 464 points. The Nasdaq ended down 5 points. S&P 500 rose 23. It's going to become mostly cloudy tonight. It'll be mild and it's going to stay breezy. Lows from 71 to 67. And right now 86 at 710 KURV. News at the top and bottom of the hour and when it breaks and on demand at KURV.com. I'm Tim Sullivan, 710 KURV.
Hey, folks, antifreeze, coolant, it's one of the most overlooked basic vehicle maintenance items we see in our stores. Basically, ethylene glycol is mixed with water to greatly increase its boiling or its freezing tolerance. That's right. To a degree, we pay a lot of attention to cooling systems, including radiators, thermostats, reservoirs, coolant, caps, and water pumps. Remember, it's hot. Only check the cooling system when the engine is cool. Antifreeze breaks down. It includes additives to keep the engine water jacket, the radiator, and the thermostat clean and to lubricate the water pump. The additives break down over time. The water dissipates over time. The coolant's got to be replaced according to vehicle manufacturer recommendations. Never check it hot, guys. No. Let the professionals at your family car care center do it for you. ThinkTires.com, Shampoozy.com. Come on, get some love for your car today at your friendly neighborhood family car care center, where we love you.
The COVID-19 vaccine rollout has begun across the valley. Stay tuned for the latest information on COVID-19 vaccine distribution locations near you. We're the Rio Grande Valley's news and talk station. News Talk 710 KURV and KURV.com.
So, if you're ever riding down the road and you wonder why soda pop in your cup holder's shaking from side to side consistently, it's kind of like dancing to rhythm or something. It might even be splashing soda pop all over the unhappy captives in your vehicle. Well, folks, it's not supposed to be doing that. No. Odds are you need to balance the tires on your mule. That's right. Get your vehicle aligned, and you just might have a tire that's out of round or wobbly circumferentially. That's right. You better have the friendly folks at Pueblo Tires take a look at your vehicle. Be good to yourselves. Be good to others. Deal with people who have got your back and keep wondering what the Shampoozy really means.
Your Fox News station for the Valley. This is News Talk 710 KURV.
Time is 3:33. News Talk 710 KURV. Opening Texas 100% news special. Thank you to Pueblo Tires for making this hour possible. Steve Elanius from the McAllen Chamber. Terry Van Berkelier. El Pato Restaurants. Taquerias El Serape Valley Wide from the business perspective. Dr. James Castillo, Cameron County Health Authority. I'm Sergio Sanchez, along with Roxanne Flores. Go ahead, Roxanne.
This is for Steve Elania. Steve, have you had the chance to gauge if most local businesses will continue to require masks for staff and clients? And if so, for how long?
I think Terry probably had the best response. Obviously, most businesses want to keep their employees safe. I think you can anticipate, at least for the next 60 days, that businesses are going to keep the signs up and requiring customers coming in to wear masks. I know the businesses I've talked to have said they're going to require their employees to wear masks. And it's just a reminder, it's really not about our personal freedoms. It's really about thinking about other people and wanting to keep other people safe. And I tell, and Dr. Castillo will appreciate this, I always tell folks, look, if the public health authority said boil your water and don't drink it unless you boil it, we would do that, right? We wouldn't claim it's our individual freedom to drink unsafe water. And I think of the same way with wearing a mask. If they're saying, hey, wear a mask, protect yourself, protect other people. Let's do those little things, and then we all get through this. And I promise you, in 60 days, we're gonna be on the other side of this, and there's going to be a whole new idea. This kind of a refreshing of hey, we're gonna get back to normal.
Yes, yeah. Not to kind of springboard off of that and ask you, Terry, as a business owner of El Pato and Taqueria El Serape restaurants, how long do you think you'll ask staff and clients to wear masks?
Well, we hope it's in 60 days, like Steve mentioned, but you just don't know. We're seeing some great numbers with the amount of cases and hospitalizations in the valley, and again, it's about the safety of our people, and I think it's a small thing to ask our customers to keep wearing those masks. I know everybody'd like to take the masks off, but really, I think we're all kind of getting used to it, and it's just not that cumbersome for anybody. So, if it's 60 days or 90 days, it is what it is.
You got to cut a slit through the middle, like left to right. That way you can open up and eat. That works best for me. Sorry, Roxanne.
That's okay. And on the topic of masks, this is for Dr. James Castillo. How long should we expect this mask culture to continue? Is this something that we're going to see for the rest of our lives? People just wearing masks whenever they feel ill?
Well, wearing a mask if you're sick, you're sick. First of all, if you're sick, stay home. Really stay home. The mask is good. If a person when we get back to the day where it's just a cold, some cultures do that. Hey, you got a cold, you're going to be going out, wear a mask. That's great. I think once you're already seeing it relax a little bit on the new CDC guidelines for people who have been vaccinated inside of your own, social bubble with your family. Everybody's been vaccinated. You could let go of the masks. But once I think you see the general public or whole workplaces be vaccinated, that's where you're really going to start seeing the mask drop away when it comes to COVID-19. Not long into the future, I really hope, when you start seeing the vaccine available more broadly. 30, 60, 90 days, I think that's pretty realistic. So let's keep hoping for that.
Less flu, less strep throat, less even common colds, right, Dr. James? We're looking at.
Yeah, that's been amazing, right? Where did flu season go? Very, very few. We were testing for flu. It's not like nobody was testing. And a lot of those COVID tests that the hospitals are using, they test for multiple viruses simultaneously. So they're testing for flu, they're testing for strep. And yeah, there's been a few cases here and there, but nothing like we saw other years. So all these precautions that we take, and masks and distancing, they've worked really well to get rid of the flu this year.
Question for Terry again. We're business owners, my husband and I, we own a gym, and I know it's a very tough situation to do the right thing. And I know a lot of businesses are just trying to figure out what they can do for their employees and for their customers. But one thing I wanted to ask you again, Terry, is the PPP. That was a big thing that helped businesses survive last year during COVID-19 and even this year. When did you use it? Did you need it? All that stuff. Did it help?
Yeah, so we did apply for the PP, and we were allocated some money, and it was very helpful for us to pay our employees at a time that we were very uncertain about, what this virus was going to do, and what these people were. A lot of our people they need a check every week, and as most of us do, and it was a way for us to retain mostly all of our employees. So the PPP was very, very helpful.
Mask might go away sometime near future, Terry, but what about sanitation stations, little sandy wipes, all those things? How did the COVID situation, you think, permanently change day to day at the restaurant?
Sergio, we have always had hand sanitizer sitting out for our customers, even pre-COVID. We've been doing that for years. With the diner not being as crowded as it has been the last year, those are lasting a little bit longer because people aren't using them. But we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to do all those things to try to keep our customers as comfortable and as safe as possible.
Steve Elanius, McAllen Chamber. I know in your most recent survey you were asking folks as far as the bounce back and hiring again. Are we looking at a potential hiring boom here in South Texas pretty soon?
I think so. We had close to 46% thinking that they would be adding additional employees to their businesses. Only 5% thought they would be letting employees go. So that gives you a pretty good indicator that they feel good about the economy, even for those that are just going to kind of maintain. And so I think those are all good indicators that they see good things happening on the horizon. One of the things I want to kind of hitchhike on what Terry was talking about is, it really kind of puts businesses in a tough spot when you have conflict with customers who maybe don't want to wear a mask, and they walk into a place of business and the business was wanting to require you to wear a mask. And so, it's a challenge for businesses. How do you deal with customers, and how do you de-escalate those situations? And obviously you don't want it to escalate to a point where you're calling the police, and those type of things. And so tomorrow we're going to be hosting a Zoom conference with Dr. Flores from STC about how to handle customers that maybe don't want to wear a mask that coming into your business. And I think the more we can learn to handle, to de-escalate those moments and to get folks to feel a little bit more comfortable. I know a lot of businesses have talked about they're going to have the disposable masks available at the entrance. If somebody walks in and isn't wearing a mask, that they'll say, hey, could you please put on a mask? But I think how you handle those situations is going to be really critical over the next 60 days.
Well, I had to learn how to wear shirts and shoes in order to receive service, and now I got to wear a mask as well at most of these places, but I got used to that as well. Roxanne, back to you real quick.
This is for Dr. Castillo. What would you recommend as the doctor, Cameron County Health Authority, that business do right now as we hear COVID restrictions are lifted today in Texas?
Yeah, definitely looking at your business and the risk that COVID poses inside of your how your business is structured. So for example, one of the riskiest occupations during this whole pandemic has been people who work in kitchens, right? Anytime you're working in an environment that's low ventilation, more crowded, that's probably one of the highest risk things you could do. And giving people the right protective equipment has been very effective in preventing this illness. Masks have actually worked really well. If you look at hospitals, and we're using, the N95 masks. I was talking to an ICU doctor, and he's saying, "Hey, I'm getting, right face to face with the virus, and we're not wearing spacesuits. We're wearing these masks, and I've never gotten infected." Using that protection right, and so giving the employees and the businesses the tools to stay open. And nobody wants this virus surging again. Nobody wants to see the hospitals surging again and seeing, those restrictions come back. So I think for all the businesses who want to, keep on going, I think masks are the way that business can continue to grow going into the summer months and then towards the end of the pandemic.
10-4. How about businesses? Should they will require the spacing, the 6 feet apart? Is that also a good idea?
Staying away from crowds is probably the better thing. So staying away from people who are, not in your household. The 6 feet is arbitrary. I think it's just a good metric just to try to encourage, designing your business so that you're encouraging people, you're making it easy for them to stay away from other people, keeping that distance. It's definitely helpful in addition to the masks. Every little piece is like a Swiss cheese model, right? You put more and more space in between those holes, and you'll have fewer things make it through all the way to the other side. So this is just one more layer, and the more layers we add, especially when there's a lot of virus around, the quicker this goes away.
KURV News Special, Opening Texas 100%. I'm Sergio Sanchez, along with Roxanne Flores. Our guest, Steve Elanius, McAllen Chamber. You heard there Dr. James Castillo, Cameron County Health Authority. Terry Van Berkeley, El Pato Restaurants, Valleywide. Terry, it seems to me that right now, because it's so early, we're kind of opening up and getting, sticking our toe in the water. It seems to me, just listening to some business interviews and other folks across Texas, that it's almost good for business right now to be cautious and ask for the masks, ask for the social spacing and all that, because of what seems to be the overall apprehension in the market and getting back to normal. So it just makes sense for business. Would you agree that you apply this protocol, and then little by little, the business community, wean us off all these restrictions, right?
Yeah, I agree, and I was glad to hear, Dr. Castillo said that, as a health professional, that he sees this, 60 to 90 days when we get more people vaccinated. So when that's really a short period of time, and wearing a mask for another 90 days till we get a majority of the people vaccinated in the Rio Grande Valley is just not too much to ask. And I think the people will know when it's time. When more people get vaccinated, It's going to slowly, it'll slowly evolve on its own.
Yeah, kind of like you said, doesn't seem like there's going to be a rush to the door to get back in there. It's going to be gentle, I suppose.
Correct. Yeah, I don't see diners filling up tomorrow. I really don't.
Roxanne, back to you real quick.
Dr. Castillo, U of H survey says that perhaps 1 in 4 Texans might never get vaccinated. So with that, do you think we'll ever reach herd immunity?
Yeah, I think we still will. Again, the vaccine's the better way to get your immunity. But we still think that natural disease is going to offer, protection in the future for most people. All right. And if you look at in Cameron County, we're approaching, about 8% of the population having been confirmed with a PCR test as having COVID. And then if you think about it, that the extrapolation from there is maybe as many as 5 times that have actually had the disease, right? So now we're bumping up on 50%. And then you add to that vaccinating the highest risk people, the people who are most at risk for getting put in the hospital, most at risk for death. Because quite frankly, if COVID-19 did not kill you or did not wipe out our hospitals by causing mass hospitalizations of people, we would have treated this like the flu, right? Where, hey, this is a serious thing, we need to do stuff, but it wouldn't have done what it did. So, through a combination of natural infections and then, preferably vaccination, you do not want to get this illness to get immune to it. Preferably the vaccination. I think the combination of the two, this will still go away.
We also know that there's news of variants coming to different parts of this country. How concerned are you with those variants, and do the vaccines are they effective towards those variants?
Yeah, the vaccines seem to work very well against the variants. When we were looking at developing the vaccines, they were putting a measure of success at 50% protection, and then you're seeing against serious disease, and it's way, way better than that. So they don't perform at that 95% level against some of the variants, but they're still very good. The key to the variants, that what we don't want to see is variants causing reinfections of people who have already had COVID. That would be the most concerning thing if we start seeing that consistently happening. And to avoid that, this virus needs to get under control quicker, because the more viruses out there, the bigger chance it has of developing one of these mutations. So getting through this with vaccines, and the vaccines are going to work. And again, look at the success of the vaccine is, did you die? Did you get put in the hospital? Right? And the vaccines are performing fantastic for that. And some of the studies are showing they're going to do well for the variants too. But hopefully nothing out of left field comes with a variant able to cause reinfections or really get around the vaccines with severe disease.
I know a question that a lot of people have is this going to be a yearly shot like the flu? Are we going to be required to take one every single year? Or once you have either the Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson shot, you're good for the rest of your life?
Yeah, if it keeps mutating and they find that, there's a mutation that develops that is bypassing natural immunity, or it's bypassing the vaccine. So, for example, if somebody who has been fully vaccinated gets COVID, that's a sample we're probably going to want to have sequenced, to do the analysis on the virus, find out what changed in it. And then the FDA has already come up with a protocol for those companies to be able to develop a booster vaccine. So I would imagine seeing a booster vaccine to maybe some of the more worrisome variants coming out later in the year. And if this keeps circulating through the world, and I think that's going to be the important thing about this getting extinguished all over the world, because, the flu pops up in, say, another country, and then it starts circling the globe. So if there's still smoldering cases of COVID out there in another country, it'll eventually make its way back to us. Right. So as soon as the rest of the world gets this under control too, then we'll have less to worry about that. But if it turns out that this becomes part of our, one more thing out there in the world, then you would imagine needing a booster as it starts mutating.
Speaking of Dr. James, you just unlodged the question I've been thinking about for several days. So you get 2 shots with Pfizer, and you get 1 with 2 with Moderna. You get 1 with Johnson & Johnson. Why not a second J&J shot? Wouldn't that be a booster as well?
It's a different technology. So the Johnson & Johnson vaccine uses an adenovirus, a cold virus, that they manipulate to be able to give you protection against that spike protein on the coronavirus. So you should only need one dose. If you do a second dose, sometimes your body becomes immune against that virus, that adenovirus. So they found some of that in there versus the Moderna and Pfizer use that mRNA technology. So you don't develop necessarily an immune response against those lipid nanoparticles. And they were really trying to trigger this big, robust immune, antibody production, similar to a person who had severe COVID. That's what they were going for. So to get there, you needed 2 doses of that mRNA. And on the Johnson & Johnson, they were testing it out in places like South Africa, where they have the variants, the UK, where they have the variants, and using a single dose. And then they were measuring how did it protect against death? How did it protect against severe disease? And it was doing great. So with 1 dose, I think that's just the way they designed the study. And I think that's going to be a huge advantage and a nice option to have available.
I have 2 questions for you, Dr. Castillo. One, it's what do you know about this miracle pill in the news? And then 2, last time we had you on the program, I think you mentioned that they're studying if you've had COVID-19 already, you probably just need the second dose of either Pfizer or Moderna.
Yeah. So there's, to that question, there's, for the flu, we have some of those oral antivirals that if you take it right when you get sick, it can shorten the duration of your illness and make you less likely to get put in the hospital. There's been a lot of drugs trying to be repurposed for that, none of which have panned out. It looks like one that's being studied is showing really great promise. So you can imagine getting a prescription for something that actually works. So you could take in a pill that if you get COVID-19, you won't get very sick. That would change. That would be great. On top of the vaccine, there's another level of protection. There's another way to get back to normal quickly. Imagine if we just had, well, here's the treatment right off the shelf, get a prescription, you're done. Takes the fear factor out of COVID-19 big time. That'd be great for everybody. What was your other question? Sorry.
The study that last time we had you on the program, you mentioned that if you've already had COVID-19, they're trying to study if probably you don't even need the first dose, you can just get the second dose.
Yeah, they're not sure about that yet, having to repeat those studies, but that would make sense. You imagine on the mRNA vaccines, the first dose primes your immune system, the second dose supercharges it. So if your immune system's already seen COVID before, maybe it just needs that supercharge, right? But they're probably going to be studying that. They haven't released the data yet. And I hope that gets updated. Again, that'll let us get more people vaccinated more quickly.
Do you know the name of that miracle pill that's in the news? Isn't that like a common therapy for another ailment?
No, this is a totally new medicine. This is specifically an antiviral specifically for SARS-CoV-2. When they give it these experimental names, they don't get those catchy brand names yet. So I'm not sure what they're calling it. But I know there's been some reports about it. It looks promising, and I look forward to the FDA when they apply for the FDA on that one.
They compare it to Tamiflu. Is that a fair comparison?
Yeah,
okay.
It works like it. It works like Tamiflu by trying to interrupt the virus's replication once you're infected. So once you're already infected, how can you make the virus not be able to reproduce in your body? That's what this drug does. That's how Tamiflu works.
Last report I heard yesterday was that it's like 50% effective. If caught early on, you take that miracle pill and boom, you decrease the growth of the flu, I suppose, or the spread of the flu inside of you. I'm sorry, the spread of COVID in you. Is Tamiflu that effective, that also 50% effective once you swallow the Tamiflu?
It depends on what you're measuring. So in Tamiflu, you have to take it real quick if you get influenza, right? This is not for COVID. If you get influenza, and it shaves a few days off of your illness. Most people who get the flu don't get sick enough to get put in the hospital. But if you did, Tamiflu reduces your risk of dying if you're treated in the hospital with flu. We don't have anything like that for COVID. We've been looking for it. And so if we can get a drug that works like that, tolerated, proven, effective, that would also be another really great addition. Right now we have the monoclonal antibodies, and there's a new one coming out, a new combination coming out from Eli Lilly to deal with the variants. But those are kind of cumbersome. You have to get an IV infusion. It's great. It's really shown to reduce your risk of getting put in the hospital if you have high risk. It reduces your risk of death. But it's not just a pill you can just get prescribed.
What can you tell us about Mexico, Matamoros specifically, since you keep up with friends down there? How are they dealing with it? And I ask you because I know over at the Chamber and other businesses were chomping at the bit to open up the international bridges for the so-called non-essential travel and get that business over here. So what can you tell us about Mexico?
Mexico's a little bit harder to know what's going on. It's about how much testing you're doing. I think what you're seeing is everybody's numbers are kind of coming down. We're getting through this winter surge, and at least in this part of the world. But I think we all still have quite a bit of virus circulating in the community. And so if somebody's been careful this whole time, and now's not the time to poke your head out just yet. But definitely, things are definitely headed in the right direction. I think everywhere in our whole community.
Back to Steve Elanius at the Chamber. So dollar-wise, Steve, what does it mean to local business if we get those buses coming up to us from Monterrey, Saltillo, and get all those Mexican shoppers over here? What do you think that does for?
I know for McAllen, and just for McAllen alone, it's over $1 billion in retail sales. So it's a huge number. It can be as high as 33% of our total retail sales.
And to put in perspective, sorry, Steve, our market, McAllen, which is the leading retail market for the area, is what, 10 billion, 11 billion? What is it?
It's close to, if you talk about McAllen alone, it's probably close to $5 billion.
Okay. So Metro McAllen, though, would be closer.
Oh, yeah. It'd be close to 8 or 9 billion.
Okay. So we're looking at about just north 15% then.
Yeah. So it would make a huge difference, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I want to follow up. The other challenge that businesses have are those customers that are anxious and concerned about going out in public. And I've seen surveys that show 40% of the folks are not comfortable yet going out in public, going to a restaurant, going to a retail business. And so, once they get to that comfort level, and I think you're going to see that surge with them as well. And so I think there's still some challenges out there, and each person is going to respond differently to the risks involved. But I think once we get to that point, there's a comfort level. I think you're going to see them back in the market also.
Well, Dr. James, back to you. What needs to happen to open up the international bridges? What would you like to see? Because again, you're looking at a shot in the dark. You really don't know what's going on in Mexico to the point where you'd be comfortable. But I mean, what needs to happen for us to open up those bridges?
I think we're going to need to get to that point where the vaccine is really widely available, that people start feeling comfortable traveling in general, even in the United States. I think the vaccine is going to be the key to that, seeing widespread vaccination. I know the vaccine's not been very widely available in Mexico yet, and so as you see the vaccine start getting into Mexico locally, I think that's going to be the key to really see that kind of travel and commerce reopening.
Well, let me give 30 seconds each, just a final thought as we close out the program. And I got to ask Terry, since we're in Lent season, are you bringing back the seafood and nopalitos again for Lent?
We've got them. We've got them there already, Sergio. Please come see us.
I'm there, my brother. Oh, you know me, man. I'm a happy customer. You can look at my midsection. I'm very happy with that. 30 seconds real quick, Terry, just a final thought.
It was a real trying time, in the beginning. The PPP money really helped us with our employees. And again, like Steve said, once everybody kind of settled in after those the first couple of months, things kind of started getting back to the uptrend for business. But I agree with Steve that we're getting ready for a great economy in the Rio Grande Valley once this is over.
10-4. Gang, thank you so much for answering the call, always being there for us. Steve, Lord bless you, brother. Steve Elanius, President, McAllen Chamber of Commerce. Terry, soldier on, amigo. You keep those restaurants open. Terry Van Berkeley, El Pato Restaurant, Zacarías and Zapata. Dr. James Castillo, brother, thank you so much for always being a phone call away. Dr. James Castillo, our Cameron County Health Authority. News special, News Talk 710 KURV, made possible by Pueblo Tires. Stay tuned for the drive home next on 710 KURV.